If the sound design in your beats is boring, like certain parts just sound stock instead of that professional level of detail that you hear from industry producers, then this video you're about to watch is going to level up your productions and upgrade your sound design. And sound design is powerful. It's the easiest way to build a unique sound for yourself as an artist or producer. This video is going to be a goldmine if you want to improve your sound design. We're going to be making our own melodic samples in real time from scratch, and I'm going to give you a ton of insights and tricks for ways that we can turn even boring stock sounds into industry quality, professional sounding samples through a process called resampling. Resampling is a workflow that a ton of industry producers and sample makers use to make their sounds unique. It can add interest, excitement, and that professional level of detail that helps their tracks stand out. Here's the basics you need to know about how it works. You start with some stock or dry, raw instrument sounds. It could be a guitar you play in, some synths, a VST, or even a stack of a few different tracks. Then you apply processing in multiple stages, each time reprinting your track to audio so that the effects get baked in each time. And because we're printing to audio each time, it lets us do even more chopping at the audio level, which opens up for even more sonic possibilities. So that's basically resampling, and that's the process we're going to use to make 3 samples from scratch in this video. Now, if you're a producer that has never made loops before, maybe you've only ever used other people's loops from Splice or other sample packs, this video is going to be especially eye-opening because you're going to see just how easy it can be to get some really incredible sounding loops, even if you're just starting with raw stock sounds. Now, if you like seeing this kind of content, be sure to give this video a like. Let us know in the comments what other types or genres of loops you'd like to see us make. Today, we're gonna make a modern hip hop piano loop, some sort of chill pop electronic type loop, and maybe a lo-fi guitar loop. We'll start with the piano loop, but we'll put chapters on this video, so feel free to skip around. So for this piano loop, I decided to start by just drawing in a simple melody. Then I duplicated the piano track and started adding in some bass notes. Splitting up the tracks like this instead of doing it all in one will be important later on when we start processing. So let's listen to where we're at. So it sounds very stock right now, but I'll pull up Blockchain Ultra on the melody part. And I want to give this track a bit more motion. So I'm going to come over here to the reverse. I love how that sounds. Let's give it a little bit of a resampled feel with the Toronto filter. So we're only applying this processing on the main piano melody, and already it sounds much cooler. Let's add Blockchain Ultra on the lower piano as well. And on this one, I want to give it a more pad-like feel. So let's look in our reverbs here. Maybe we'll pull up Space Verb. That instantly sounds so cool. I love the tail of what Space Verb is doing here. And this is where we're gonna start resampling. So I'm gonna print this down. I'm just gonna bounce it in place. And now we have this piano track printed to audio. So there's 2 cool parts of this. The first part where we can still kind of hear before Space Verb completely takes over with its granular reverb effect. We can still kind of hear the individual piano notes, and that sounds really cool there. But we also have this other long tail of the granular reverb. And like just this bar almost has like a rhythmic feel to it. So I'm gonna pull this down here onto its own track. Let's copy this reverb throughout the loop. Now, one thing when you're doing this, it's always nice to have a little bit of fade in and fade out on your loops just to avoid any clicks. And let's blend it in with the main melody. I love how that sounds, but now I want to give this low piano part kind of a resampled feel as well. So I'm going to sum these together, load Blockchain Ultra. Back on this top piano melody where we have this reverse and Toronto filter, I'm going to print that down as well. And I'm going to print the piano pad that we made using the space verb. So you can see how I'm just recycling, reprinting, and continuing to process, chop the audio, and add new effects. But now let's play with the tempo. I want to speed this up a little bit. And I want to brighten up the melody part. I feel like it's a little dull now, so let's add air fusion. I love how that sounds. Let's pitch shift it a little bit too and try a different key. Now this pitch shifter is part of the Warp series and it gives it that extra grainy retro digital pitch shifter vibe. So I'm going to load that on both of these. We'll make sure we do fade in and fade out to get rid of any clicks. I love how that sounds. The last thing I'm going to do is just a little trick to give it an even more resampled sound, like we picked it off of a record and stretched it to fit. And at each bar, I'm just going to add a little tiny cut. And then I'm going to grab all these and shorten it by just a tiny bit, like this. I'll make sure to add fade in and fade out. Instantly, it sounds so cool. I'm going to group these together, bounce them out, trim it up to size, and now we have a piano sample. So all of that was possible because we had some incredible processors to completely warp the sound, give us really cool reverse effects, granular reverb effects, resampling filters that make it sound kind of grainy and lo-fi. All of that stacked up with the audio edits we made in order to turn a stock raw piano sample into something really cool. Take a quick listen to where we started and where we ended up with this sample. So for this next loop, I wanted to make a chill electronic song starter. So I decided to start recording in some synths to give us something to work with. So now that I've got this long recording in of just raw synths, I'm going to start looking through and trying to find a cool 2 or 4 bar section. I like the parts, I just want to rearrange them a little bit because I feel like this gap should be first. Part of the cool thing of doing it like this is not all the notes are perfectly quantized, so you get a much more natural feel. But I do want to nudge some of these a little bit to get them a little bit closer to the grid. So now that I've cut together a nice 4-bar loop from what I played, I'm just going to go ahead and bounce this in place. Let me explain a really common problem that I see a lot of producers face. You find 1 or 2 ways to do something, and then you kind of fall into that groove, and you don't really try anything new. Maybe you're always reaching for the same instruments or plugins, and there's nothing wrong with that at first, but over time, you probably get less and less inspired by that, and everything you make starts to sound the same. And that's one reason why I love using Blockchain Ultra, because it has such a massive library of creative processors. There's always something new to explore, new ways to combine them, different routing options. It just feels like there's always something new I can try. Sometimes I'll even just go into a different category, load something random, and see if I can use it to make something cool. A lot of times it's something I wouldn't necessarily think to try, but it could have cool results. So let's try that here. And I want to start by giving this a bit more bounce and feel. So I'm going to look in some of these delays, maybe a tape echo. So that sounds really cool. I also want to play around with some reverb. Let's try the ghost verb. So I love the space that this chain is putting the synth in. I'm just gonna go ahead and print this one in right now, synth plus verb. But now I have an idea for something I can do with Blockchain Ultra. I'm gonna duplicate what we just printed, and then I'm going to load up some kind of crazy long reverb. Like maybe I'll pull up the shimmer verb. And if I set the mix all the way up, we're gonna just get 100% shimmer. And let's print this in, because I'm going to do something with this texture that we create. So now that I've bounced this, let's hear what the tail of this sounds like. So I love the tail of the shimmer because it's kind of shimmering up as it goes each time through the algorithm. And so what we can do is when we reverse that, we can create a really cool effect because it's kind of reversing the shimmer. So it's almost going from super high back down. I want to play around with the stereo image a bit. I just had an idea as I was listening. This is supposed to have kind of a bounce, and those shimmers are maybe throwing that off a little bit. So I'm going to load up Pumper on the shimmer track and just kind of let this pump a little bit. And I want to make sure it comes off right on the downbeat. We'll add a little fade out to make sure we don't have a click. I'm going to group these together. And again, as we're resampling, I'm just continuing to bounce and bounce and bounce the audio. So here we're going to do another bounce of this. And this time I'm going to load up Blockchain Ultra on this track. And I just want to give it some more energy. I want to give it some more punch and slap. So I'm going to load up maybe one of these saturators like Track Slammer. Track Slammer sounds really cool. I want to maybe play around with something that gives it a bit more warmth, like Tube Drive. So we're getting a little bit of breakup on some of those hits, but it sounds pretty cool. I could also just parallel process this entire saturation chain, and that might even allow me to go even crazier with some of this drive. I love what that sounds like. Let's print that in, synth plus sat. And let's just give it one more round of hyping it up, maybe a little OTT. I did want to tone shape this a little bit, so I'm going to pull up maybe just a regular parametric EQ and dial in some of the lows. I want to just pull those out a little bit. I kind of like this second performance of the first three notes better than the first one, so I might just chop this audio up as well. Now, one of the cool things about this workflow is I can always go back if I want to bring something back in, or if I feel like I lost a little bit of something from the original, I can just go back to the original right here. And that's what I'm going to do on this. I'm going to pull this synth 2 that we had. This is back when we were adding the echo and the ghost verb, and I just want to have a little bit of that in here as well. I'm going to blend it in parallel. Probably just add a little bit of pumping on this as well. We'll group these together, bounce it down one last time, and let's take a listen to where we started and where we ended up with this one. So we went from a very raw stock sound to something much cooler that we can actually start building a track around. Blockchain Ultra is really like the ultimate resampling plugin because there's just so much you can do with it. And all the modules, all the processors sound incredible. So for this lo-fi loop, I decided to start with some clean guitar. Then once I had the guitar recorded in, I went through, listened to it, and found a few spots that sounded cool. I layered a few different parts from later in the performance and earlier, and came up with this, just by chopping the audio that was there. So I'm going to group all these and I want to give them kind of that classic lo-fi texture. Now in the chain starter presets, there's some great tape and vinyl starters. I'm going to start with this vinyl one. Let's see what it does. So I love what this is doing right off the bat. I want to make it sound a bit more unique though. And so I'm going to play around with the filters and specifically this vinyl noise to try to give it a different texture. So these crackle modes are great to be able to customize the actual algorithm of the crackle. But let's play around with the bandpass here as well. So I love what that one's doing, but I want to try something else here. Maybe this GB filter, which is a different type of bandpass filter, but it's kind of a digital lo-fi filter. So we can hear a little bit of that digital lo-fi coming through there. It sounds really cool on this guitar. But I also want to filter the noise out with it, so I'm just going to switch the order like that. So this chain is already doing so much. We're getting really nice room verb here. Very realistic sounding room. We've got some digital resampling. We've got the noise, some warmth from the tube drive. Magnetic drift is giving us a little bit of extra stereo interest. And then we also have the wow and flutter, obviously adding that traditional wobble. The only thing I can think of is adding a little bit of compression just to pull everything together and glue it together. And this BT2A is an opto type compressor. It sounds incredible. So right off the bat, we're getting some really cool sounds here with this guitar. Just listen before and after Blockchain Ultra. So I love the texture and everything. We were able to do so much within this track. Let's just bounce this out. And that way we can add those little cuts in the audio that make it sound resampled. So here I'll chop like right before each of these beats. So now that we've got some chops placed in rhythmically here, I'm just gonna grab everything and then just barely tuck in the ending. You could probably use even a little more for a bigger effect. And then I'll add some fades just to avoid any clicks. And now that it's audio again, I can also play around with different transposing of this audio. So take a quick listen to where we started with this guitar and where we ended up with this lo-fi loop. So there's obviously so much we can explore with Blockchain Ultra to easily create these resampled loops. And when you use this resampling process and apply different cuts and chops to the audio itself, you can take your samples even further. So that was really fun. Making samples from scratch is always one of my favorite things to do. I think it's one of the most creative things you can do as a producer, because you're literally starting with a blank canvas and then just layering and resampling and trying to make it cooler and cooler with each iteration. And it's also probably the best way to start defining your unique sound. And when you're using a tool like Blockchain Ultra, you have millions of possibilities of what you could dial in. It really is a tool that gives you the power to dial in a sound completely unique to you. You can try it for free if you want to start making some samples with it at neuroaudio.com, or hit the link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, let us know, leave us a comment, hit the like button, and subscribe for more tutorials like this. And let us know if you like seeing samples come together from scratch like this. Let us know in the comments what types of samples you want to see, whether it's drums or melodies or genres, and we'll make some videos like that as well. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, happy music making.